Thank you. I would now like to recognize Ms. McBath.
Well, thank you so much, Chairman Owens and Ranking Member Scott, and also thank you to your staff and to our witnesses for being here with us today and making this hearing possible. And Ms. Burdett, once again, thank you so much for your witness and testimony. I heard your testimony last week in another committee. Acts or expression of hatred, racism, and anti-Semitism have no legitimate place in our society or on a college campus. And I'm glad to see that the Higher Education Subcommittee today coming together for this important discussion. Students will tell you that they are feeling unsafe, as we have heard today. And in volumes, we have heard this. And we have a responsibility to them to do everything that we can to foster communities of understanding, safety, and respect for each other on our college campuses. While the brutal terrorist attacks by Hamas on Israeli civilians on October 7th have incited a recent larger wave of anti-Semitism on campus and elsewhere around the country, this is not an entirely new development. This rise in hate is well documented by groups such as the Anti-Defamation League and is unfortunately becoming more and more normalized. In 2022, ADL documented almost 3,700 separate anti-Semitic incidents throughout the United States in just their yearly audit. This translates to over 10 anti-Semitic incidents a day in 2022, a 36% increase in the amount from the year before, and the highest number recorded since ADL began tracking anti-Semitic incidents in the late 1970s. Something is seriously wrong when in the last 5 annual reports by ADL, 3 of them have reported the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents recorded in the 50-plus years that this data has been collected. My community in Metro Atlanta, I represent Georgia, is no stranger to these incidents. It should never be considered normal, but it occurs far too often. A few years ago, I myself participated in a joint press conference with interfaith leaders in my community, local law enforcement, the ADL, and the Council General of Israel to the southeast to condemn anti-Semitic vandalism that was happening in our neighborhoods. And just over 2 weeks ago, anti-Semitic messages were displayed on an overpass above I-75 in my county, Cobb County, a home to one of the largest Jewish communities in the Deep South. And I am pleased that the Biden administration is responding with their release of the National Strategy to Counter Anti-Semitism earlier this year. And as you stated in your testimony, and I quote, "The strategy's launch in May of 2023 was the most ambitious, far-reaching action in U.S. history. Also historic is the coming together, both from within and outside of the Jewish community, a kind of civic unity and resolve to tackle anti-Semitism through concrete, coordinated action to stop the spread and the normalization of anti-Semitism." And that is your quote, Ms. Burdett. Ms. Burdett, I wholeheartedly agree with you that this was an important step, and you've been talking about that today over and over again, about the importance of us supporting the Biden administration's actions and strategic action and work that they've done on anti-Semitism. But can you also discuss further, because I apologize, I've had to run in and out to other committees as well, can you discuss further some of the other actions that the federal government can and should be taking in response to these very disturbing rises in anti-Semitism on campuses specifically?
So, Congresswoman, the kind of action you described, standing with other faith leaders, that matters. When President George W. Bush called on America not to take out their anger about the tragedy of 9/11 on their Muslim neighbors, people listened. And the Department of Education officials, the president, the vice president, and officials across all of the agencies are talking more to Jewish people. They are listening, they are elevating their stories, and they are standing next to them. Your microphone is, aside from your checkbook, which I've already said is very important, your microphone is an incredible tool. And when people fight about Israel in the public debate, Jews get hurt. And when, as we've heard today, we talk about immigrants as potential invaders who would come here and act like Hamas, hate incidents against people who look like immigrants are going to go up. And that is no comfort to the Jewish community. So words matter and your microphone matters. And thank you for your work.
Well, thank you so much, in amount of time, and thank you, all of you, for your witness and testimony.